TikTok movie recommendations are always hit or miss, and today we're apparently watching the scariest movie ever made. Hello, my name is Paul, welcome back to my channel. As I said, we are watching the scariest movie ever made, apparently. If you do not know, TikTok always has these videos that are like, this is the scariest movie ever made, and I fell into this before, and I watched Megan is Missing because TikTok told me to, and it was absolutely horrible. But I keep seeing this movie called Poughkeepsie tapes everywhere on TikTok, and everybody says it's the scariest movie ever made, and I keep seeing little clips, and the clips do look quite terrifying, and I am a little bit scared today, and we are going to be watching the Poughkeepsie tapes today, and I have no idea what to expect. I hope it's better than Megan is Missing because that was just trash. Nothing happens for the entire movie, so I hope this is a little bit creepy. From the little clips I've seen, I think it's like a found footage, something about tapes being found, and that sounds right up my street. That sounds really creepy, and I am excited to watch this movie. So yeah. The only thing I want from this movie is that there are no stupid jump scares, no cheap jump scares, and I want the found footage to look cool, and I want the premise to be a little bit creepy, some creepy shots, and I just want the concept to be interesting. If it's anything like VHS, I am there. I will be seated and I will be watching it because I love movies like that. But I'm a little bit scared, I'm a little bit nervous, but I don't know what else to expect, so I'm gonna go watch the Poughkeepsie, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, Poughkeepsie. I'm gonna go watch the movie, okay. Hello. I have finally watched Poughkeepsie porridge, however you pronounce Poughkeepsie tapes. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly, but I was going to put on my review hat and then I realized, let's just absolutely leave it. So what is this movie about? Well, homicide investigators from New York City stumble upon videotapes evidencing the various crimes of a serial killer in a forsaken house in Poughkeepsie. I cannot say that word to save my life, but this movie was... I have a lot of things to say, but I'm going to try my best to keep this under 10 minutes because in every single review I waffle, aka what I'm doing now. So let's get right into this movie. So as I mentioned, it's about a serial killer. He goes by Ed, and our main kind of like protagonist-ish in this story is Cheryl Dempsey. This movie claims that this is like a movie for Cheryl Dempsey, a big tribute to her life and showcasing the tortures and the difficulties that she went through. But I will get to that in a little while because I'm telling you, this movie does not do anything for Cheryl Dempsey. She's a depthless character, but whatever. I'm going to try to be positive and let's get like some of the good things out of the way first. So the first thing I really liked about this movie, it follows the mockumentary style and it feels extremely authentic at the start. We see this movie split into 8 or 9 parts, I don't really remember, and we hear FBI investigators talking about... What is that noise? Oh, I just got scared. Somebody's like drilling something outside and that scared the life out of me. I'm gonna go close the door. Okay, sorry about that. So basically, what was I saying? Yes, this movie is split into 8 or 9 parts and I really enjoyed it because the first thing we see is like a funeral. We see our main character Cheryl, like some home videotapes of her, and then we see FBI interviews. And at the start, I'm very intrigued because they're talking about these tapes. They found hundreds and hundreds of tapes. I believe there's like 800 up to over 1,000 tapes they found in a house, and in these tapes there were disgusting things that Ed or maybe somebody else did it because we don't really know who this killer is. I suppose this killer a lot of horrible things that I really don't think I can even mention in this video, but think of the most disgusting things and think about the things that I've mentioned in like Megan is Missing, etc. Things along those lines. And this movie very quickly reminded me of creepypasta, for example, Pen Pal or 1999. It gave me those sort of vibes. I feel like this would definitely work as a short story or as a creepypasta or even as an audiobook, and I really like that. But this movie also reminded me of another movie called Lake Mungo. If you do not know what Lake Mungo is about, it's about a family who are grieving because their daughter Alice died in she drowned. Yes, she died and she drowned. And we follow this family and we see how much they are hurting, and we learn so much about Alice and about how much the family cares and are trying to kind of like hold on to the hope that maybe her spirit is around. And Lake Mungo is an absolutely incredible film. So this is the first kind of like more negative thing I want to say about this movie. This movie, as I said, follows this mockumentary style, and the first thing that we see are these interviews with the FBI. And at the start, I was like, okay, this is quite an interesting concept. But you know what really gives it away and really kind of takes you out of a movie is extremely horrible acting and the logistics. So why would the FBI accept an offer from a documentary filmmaker to be like, hey, we can show you all of the details, all of the footage, just for you to kind of check over and do whatever you want with your little documentary? I really found the logistics of that to be really, really stupid. And another thing that I really did not like about this movie, so you see all of these tapes, and obviously you hear so much from the FBI saying how horrible this person was, blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, some of these tapes are absolutely disgusting, but I feel like this movie kind of plays to the shock factor rather than showing you extremely, extremely disgusting stuff. There are things in this movie that are absolutely horrific, but we see 800 tapes, and one of the tapes is just a woman bouncing on a bouncy ball, and they keep showing that tape, and it's like, okay, we get it, it's weird, maybe it's like a good gateway into the disgusting things, but we just keep seeing that clip over and over and over again. And the clips that we see, right, it's pretend I was recording this video and I just stuck on a really crappy VHS filter, and that's how the movie is shot. That takes you out of it so much, because obviously they weren't able to film this with VHS. I wish they could have. It would have made this feel a lot more authentic and really sucked me in, but it really took me out of it because it just looks absolutely horrific, and it feels like they don't have just one filter on the top. They have like 15 filters, and you're trying to figure out what's happening on the screen, but you're getting distracted by this awful filter and how horrible this movie looks. So between these horrible filters, the weird storyline, because, you know, as I said, this is meant to follow Cheryl, but we really learn nothing about Cheryl, and that is such a huge problem with this movie. Why make this movie 80 minutes long and we only get tiny glimpses into Cheryl's life and clips of Cheryl? Because a lot of this is just kind of Ed driving around, kidnapping random people, knocking them on the head and doing horrible things. And I really feel like this movie should have been about Cheryl, her life, her family, because we get interviews with her family, we get interviews with her mother, but it's just absolutely nothing, because we learn nothing about the family. We learn nothing about how the family's feeling, how the mother is grieving, because the mother is literally like this, yeah, and I actually saw the killer, and it was, yeah, I just couldn't really forgive myself. And it's like, your daughter has gone through the most disgusting things possible, and that's all you can muster up, really? So that's just one problem, like, because out of the entire movie, as I said, the acting is not good at all. We get an interview with Cheryl towards the end of the movie. This is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but we get an interview with Cheryl towards the end of the movie, and she is alive. She has survived these horrible things that have happened to her. The performance that she gives in this movie is terrifying in a great way. Like, I mean that as a massive compliment. Her acting is incredible towards the end of the movie, but we only get like 20 seconds of that, and that's really annoying, and it feels like this movie was rushed. But whenever you do a little bit of research, you find out that this movie was rushed. This movie was filmed in, I have a hair on my microphone, oops, sorry. This movie was filmed in 15 days, and you can really tell because this story is all over the place, as all over the place as all of my reviews are. And the last thing we see on the screen, it says this is a tribute to Cheryl Dempsey. How is this a tribute? All we see are clips of her being abused, tortured, breaking down, and then she at the end unalives herself. How is this a tribute? Why would you ever, like, imagine being like Cheryl's mother and you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is going to remind me of Cheryl, and you see all the horrible things that happen to her. That is not a tribute. You're just making a story about her, and you're just trying to shock the audience, and this is exactly what this movie is. I feel like you walk away from this movie with a, oh my god, that's disgusting. Isn't that horrible that happens to people? And you just leave and you forget all about it. Whereas in a movie like Lake Mungo, the dynamics, the emotion, you have so much care for Alice's family and Alice and what happened to her, that movie will stick with you forever. I watched Lake Mungo like a year ago, and I cannot stop thinking about that movie. That movie genuinely still terrifies me. And speaking about terror, this movie is meant to be a horror movie. This is not scary at all. Okay, it's scary as a concept, that maybe people are walking around with the camera and capturing people and doing horrible things to them. That is terrifying, do not get me wrong, that is horrible. But as a horror movie, there's one jump scare, and it's a lousy, stupid jump scare, and it's whenever we see Ed, and he has this like plague doctor, whatever they're called, the plague mask with the massive nose. It's so stupid. This movie is as, oh no, okay, that's not fair. It's not as boring as Megan is Missing, but it's near there, because it's just, you're just watching something. And it's also really not believable what the characters are doing throughout this movie. We see the FBI are in this case and they're trying to paint this criminal as really intelligent. They're being like, yeah, this guy basically changed like his name and his attitudes. Like sometimes he was really good at doing crimes and sometimes he was really bad. And we just couldn't figure him out. You're the FBI. If you can't figure it out, then who can? You are giving nobody any, why should people trust you? You're painting yourselves as absolutely stupid that you're letting this guy get away. Every single time they're like, yeah, he just got away because he's too smart. And they paint him as intelligent. This guy is not intelligent. He literally gets in a car with a massive camera, kidnaps kids in broad daylight with a massive camera. He's not sly. Why are you painting this guy as a really smart person? But anyway, in this movie, they say that it's actually a policeman that's been working with them. They capture this policeman and then they put him on death row and then they kill him. And then guess what? They realize that they got the wrong guy. But that doesn't really matter because 9/11 happens and they all kind of forget about this guy. Yep, that's a real thing that happens. They tell everybody, hey, this guy was actually innocent. And then, guess what? 9/11 happens. Yeah, and everybody kind of forgets about him. And guess what? Another massive shocker. You're not going to believe this. The killer's actually still around kidnapping people because we see clips of it. Ooh, scary. Ooh. And there's another scene where the FBI are like, okay, we're going to be looking for him in the woods. And we literally see clips of the FBI looking in bushes as tall as here. Looking at like tiny little collections of grass, looking into them, be like, yep, the killer's not there. What are you doing here? Why is this movie so rushed? What is going on? This movie is not terrifying. And I guess the true horror of this movie is that the true intentions of the killer are just, we don't know them, even though the FBI tried to tell us, oh, maybe he was sad, blah, 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 whatever. We don't know the true intentions of the killer. And the thing is that he's still on the loose and the things that he does feel relatively realistic. And the true horror is that it could happen to anybody, right? But the FBI are like, we're going to figure this out, right? We've solved this. We know how to catch him. So this documentary, we're gonna release it in the cinema and we're gonna go to like every screening, and if this guy is there every single day because he's gonna be obsessed with watching himself and a movie about himself, and we're gonna catch him like that. FBI, you're doing it. Yep. Intelligence 101. Yep. And I know this isn't about this movie specifically, but I just hate the trope of kind of like found footage movies or really like low quality movies, and they're all about just women being abused or being treated horribly or just awful things happening to them. Because I've watched a lot of these like popular movies on TikTok and they've all been about just females getting treated in the worst possible way. It just feels wrong as a form of like horror entertainment, I guess. It's just, obviously I can't understand it by watching it, but I'm sure if you were a woman watching this, you'd be like, what the fuck? What is, like, I don't understand the thought process of just making a movie like this. Like, why? I don't understand it. And as I said, the ending of this movie is absolutely ridiculous. It's meant to be a tribute to Cheryl. It is not a tribute to Cheryl. It is a tribute to messy filmmaking and amateur filmmaking. And it's a shame because this director also directed As Above, So Below and Devil, two movies I really, really loved. And I didn't even know that until I went onto Letterboxd after this movie. And that's a shame because those movies were great. And I have no idea what happened in this movie. But it's just such a mess in every single way. So as I said, you're just going to walk away with this movie with the feeling of, oh, that was really horrible, but you're not going to have any emotional connection. You're not going to know anything about the characters. You're just going to see something disturbing and you might be like, yeah, that's a great movie simply because it's disturbing and we see women being treated in the most horrible way. And if that's your type of movie, well, that's what you're going to get with Poughkeepsie tapes. But if you really want a movie that has depth, care, and you learn a lot about the characters and an absolutely incredible movie that's 10 times better than this, go watch Lake Mungo. It is so good. Do not watch this. This is an absolute waste of time. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, you don't have to listen to my opinion because what do I know about movies? But I feel like that's everything I have to say about the Poughkeepsie tapes. I will probably have more to add, so I'm going to chuck it in as I'm editing. And I failed because this is like 15 minutes of a review. God damn it. Okay, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.